This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, you got it. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome to Lembit Öpik live here on Unprecedented TV. And if you're watching this live, Merry Christmas. If you support that particular celebration, and I do, and I think that Britain does. So Merry Christmas from Lembit Öpik to you wherever you are in the world. It is an important event, and for people of faith like me, it has a lot of religious significance too. You don't have to be religious to find the show interesting. But we're going to do a review of the year, and we might do more than one of those in the days to come. But on the 25th of December, hope you enjoy what might be a more lighthearted look on some serious issues. Also, the best Christmas present I've had is the fact that you're subscribing to the station. I've worked for years to make this happen, and you're helping me make that happen. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart on behalf of all of us here in Unprecedented TV for subscribing. Press like, press subscribe. That would be a great Christmas present. Doesn't cost you anything, and it means the world to me. What a year 2025 has been. Ups and downs, and exit stage left in some cases for people. There are winners and there are losers, and some of the most ludicrous policies, I'm thinking about the environment, in my view, that I've ever heard of. What are we to make of 2025? To what extent have we been sold a pup by politicians? And are they useful idiots, or do they know more than we do? Joining me is someone who knows a lot more than I do and is much better qualified in so many different departments because he's got a PhD. Merry Christmas, Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos.
Christ is born. A very Merry Christmas to you, Lembit, and to everyone else. And anyone who is offended by Christianity, I say, be offended.
Nicely put. This is a very important day. Some people say Easter is more important, but actually, in some ways, I would say, well, in every way, I would say Christmas is more important, that because of the symbolism of it. Christmas is a celebration of the time when we actually made contact, in a way, first contact that we know of, with the deity, with something involved regarding the creation of the whole universe. And I think that's quite remarkable. I've wondered what would it be like to be around 2025 years ago and to actually meet someone who is hailed as actually a representative of God.
Well, to have been around 2,000 years ago would mean, Lembit, we wouldn't have to see the likes of Keir Starmer.
Well, you've got Herod. Herod wasn't exactly nice. You could argue he was mean. Starmer's useless, I would say, but he wasn't exactly King Herod, was he? There's Starmer.
No, he wasn't. But at least King Herod meant what he said, unlike for the imbecile who's currently in 10 Downing Street.
You actually think Herod's better than Starmer? That's a bit of an exclusive. I'm not sure I agree.
I think anyone is better than that moron.
This is a lovely Christmas message there. Keir Starmer, if you're watching, I hope you're enjoying the show. And
no, he's an atheist, remember. He's an atheist.
Well, that is one reason I tend to dismiss his moral credibility. Because without getting too far into the philosophy, though perhaps today is a day we can do that, or theology perhaps, without a belief in a higher power, there is nothing to anchor your morality on. It's just opinion. It's just what you feel is good and bad, but there isn't anything beyond that. And I have to say, I'm terribly disheartened by the fact that Keir Starmer thinks it's almost a positive that he's an atheist. I think it means that he lacks the intellectual capability to understand faith.
And he's so remarkably dishonest. At the cenotaph, only a few months ago on Remembrance Day, he was uttering the words of the Lord's Prayer, and yet he's an atheist. But then again, standing adjacent to him was Charles III, who is supposed to be the defender of the faith, but he didn't come over as particularly enthusiastic about having to say the Lord's Prayer, which really does raise some very, very profound questions.
Well, you watched it more closely than me. I do like King Charles III. I have time for him, and I think I disagree with him about climate. I have to say, he thinks there's a climate emergency. I don't. But when it comes to Starmer, I'm sure I do agree with you. The guy is just been a bit of a disaster area. We'll come back to him, I think. Let's look at some of the big stories, and I have to say that, and I thank you for this. You, Marcus, raised some of them. One is about the dimming of the sun. Tell us about this. What's this about?
Well, earlier this year, the British government announced that in order to save the world, in order to put an end to the climate crisis, the so-called climate crisis, the British government will embark on dimming the sun. Well, us conspiracy theorists have been proved correct once again, because some of us said only a few years ago that the powers that be in Britain and in other Western countries would seek to dim the sun. And here we are in 2025, about to leave 2025, and the British government has confirmed that they will be dimming the sun. It really is a circus. But on the other hand, it's extremely serious because it is extremely dangerous. By dimming the sun, that will, of course, lead to some terrible, terrible results, including very major shortages of food. So
the science of this, going to the science, I interrupted you. Science of this is really odd. Plan to dim the sun. They're not actually turning the sun down. They're just trying to stop the sun rays coming in. Smoke screen created by particles reflect sunlight. Tiny particles released into the atmosphere. Conditions on the ground become dimmer. Sun evaporates. Less water from lakes and reservoirs. This is the politics of the madhouse.
Well, you don't need to be a scientist to understand that if there is no sun, or if there is a restriction of the sun, then that will have catastrophic ramifications for life on planet Earth. And here we have the UK government, the beacon of civilization in the world, the defender of mankind in the world, embarking on dimming the sun in order to save the world. It really is just preposterous nonsense. And I sincerely hope that the British people will rise up and put a stop to this.
But I'm not sure they will. This, incidentally, I think is a picture, the one that we're going to get that back up. Thank you. This is actually an indication of, I think, how South Africa is looking at it. I think this is balmy. Absolutely nuts. The world's got greener because there's been more carbon dioxide, and warmer times are the best times for the evolution of life. Ice ages are really bad news. But sunshine and warm days are great. Why do we go south for holidays? And then people say, oh, I'm going north. I'm going to the snow. So, oh, you're brave. But everybody understands why people go to Greece in the summer. Because it's nice. Because it's friendly weather. It feels good. And they want to dim the sun. Oh, and all of this is predicated on this ludicrous assumption that we've got the power to do it. We can't. We don't have the power to geoengineer the world.
It's a terrifying thought. Whether they have the ability to do so, I don't know. I do not purport to be an authority on science, but I am aware that Nikola Tesla once said that weather can be manipulated. And I hear what you say, Lembit, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have devised some kind of technology to do this, because I don't believe we are dealing with people who are insane. And when I say people, I mean the powers that be. I don't mean the imbeciles like Starmer and Lammy and Cooper. No, I mean the powers that be. I believe that this is an evil agenda. I believe it is a demonic agenda. I don't think there's anything remotely human about saying we should dim the sun.
It is a strange thing. And what bothers me most about it is the idea that we'll all go and celebrate. The scientists are planning on dimming the sun in a bid to curb global warming, that we should celebrate the idea of mucking around with this. I don't, from a scientific point of view, I've studied this now for 48 years, since I was 12. And I had something published about this in my teens, to be honest with you, about climate. And it was proved right in 2006. So I'm not qualified. I'm thinking of doing a degree in climatology just to see what they're teaching. But I don't for a minute think that we have the capacity to do it. But worst of all, I do think that we have the capacities to waste trillions trying to do it. And it can locally have an effect. You can cloud seed and cause floods. But I do worry about the fact that this is happening. We've talked about God at the beginning of today's show, I think with some legitimacy, given the significance of today to Christians all over the world. But for us to think that we can outsmart the Creator, because that's what I think we're trying to do here, and that somehow God did such a bad job of designing the earth that a little bit of carbon dioxide by human beings can mess the whole thing up. I think that is as arrogant as thinking that the universe orbits around the earth.
Arrogant or satanic?
You think so? What do you think the agenda is?
I sincerely believe, Lembit, that the entire agenda, from climate change to introducing more than two genders to normalizing pedophilia and whatnot, I truly believe that this is an evil agenda, and evil in a biblical sense. I do believe this is the work of Satan and his followers on planet Earth. As I said moments ago, there's nothing remotely human about this. This is unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented, and I'm glad that we're discussing it on unprecedented TV.
Just explain your rather strong statement, if I may say so, about why you think that the devil's involved. Some people might think that that sounds a bit odd.
So in the Bible, there are passages which say that the devil will attempt to destroy God's kingdom from within through demonic forces masquerading as human beings. Now, for some people, that is laughable. Well, they would only laugh at it because they were born at a time in Britain, say in the last 20 years, when Christianity has been mocked at school, mocked at college, mocked at university, mocked on television, and mocked everywhere else. But of course, Christianity is our salvation. We should be absolutely deadly serious about this. And so if someone can find a human element to all of this, then I will eat my hat. But there is no human element. To say, Lembit, that, for example, a man can become pregnant, where's the human dimension to that? There's no human dimension to that. Where is the human dimension in saying that paedophiles should be known as minor attracted people and understanding should be shown to them. Where's the human element in that? That is evil. That is the work of the devil. And if you take a look at Satanism, you will see that, for example, paedophilia is a major aspect of Satanism. And I can also corroborate it by saying, only in the last few years, BBC News has run a number of articles saying that Satanism has been misunderstood. Satanism is simply another religion. Satanism, if you think you know about it, then think again. And as always, your viewers don't have to take my word for it. All they need do is go to the internet, type in BBC News, Satanism, and the articles will appear.
Let's move on from that story to another one, which is of interest. And you have a rather strong phrase for this one. PM call with the Coalition of the Willing, 11th December 2025. The Prime Minister co-chaired a virtual meeting of the Coalition of the Willing this afternoon. Now, this is all about the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which apparently Starmer and the Coalition of the Willing think they can win. What do you make of the performance of this Coalition of the Willing in 2025?
Well, you know, Lembit, living in Britain, or as it is now known as, Bongland, unless we preserve our globally renowned British sense of humour, we could quite easily become insane because of what is happening in Bongland. So that is why I say.
So, on what land? What are you calling it?
It's called Bongland. It's a new name for Britain because Britain is dead. So people in Britain and in many other countries around the world, such as America, they now refer to this island, formerly known as Britain, now as Bongland.
B-O-N-G.
Bongland. Bongland.
Never heard that.
No, well,
it's not rude, is it?
No, it's not rude. No, it's it stems from the chimes of Big Ben, and basically it means as soon as there is a bong, something major has just been announced in Bong.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So you know, I say that because when I instead of referring to the Coalition of the Willing, I refer to it as the Coalition of the Wallies. And I think we really do need to implement our renowned British sense of humour. So at the start of the year, this language, Coalition of the Willing, was introduced. And it is typical language of British officialdom, grand sounding, with no practical meaning whatsoever. You have the likes of Starmer, Macron, and Merz, who have come together to say that the Coalition of the Willing is prepared to enter Ukraine, is prepared to ensure that peace comes to Ukraine, to ensure that democracy and freedom is defended there. Well, who exactly is willing? I don't see ordinary people in Britain or France or Germany who is willing. The only willing are the Wallies, i.e. the British ruling elite and their equivalents in Germany and France.
That's a pretty damning indictment. And we do see pictures there they are. There's not all of they're not all of the Coalition of the Wallies, as you call them, but you've got Macron, Starmer, and Zelensky. Merz is missing. I often mistakenly call Benz, but none of them seem credible to me as politicians.
Because they're not really in control. They're simply puppets. I mean, does anyone really believe that Keir Starmer is capable of running a country? Does anyone really believe that Rachel Reeves knows how to run an economy? I mean, it's simply laughable.
That's an interesting point, because some people want to suggest that Rachel Reeves can go on and on, but they're all close to the Labour leadership. I can't see doing well. In a recent show, depending on what order you're watching them, if you're in the archive, she was described as a Grinch, and she stole Christmas. I covered that in quite a lot of detail with Nick Buckley, MBE, actually, and she does seem to have presided over a quite remarkable result. Reeves accused of stealing Christmas as household gloom about finances slumps to 2 yellow. That was a winter story, but she has actually been dreadful, hasn't she?
Rachel Reeves couldn't budget for a picnic. The budget that only recently she delivered was, I did say we need to preserve our British sense of humour in order not to go insane in Bongland, but she couldn't budget for a picnic. She wasn't responsible for that budget. Her job was simply to read it out to the rest of the useful idiots in the House of Commons. No, I mean, it's the permanent undersecretary in the Treasury who is in charge. The ministers are simply told, this is how we do things here, these are what the objectives are, and this is how you're going to go about it.
She hasn't exactly had a great year, has she? I won't show it again now, but we have shown it many times here on Unprecedented TV. She burst into tears during Prime Minister's questions. Just didn't look good. Really uncomfortable. Doesn't make sense to have a chancellor so fragile that either, I mean, maybe she had something really serious to be worried about, but for her to cry in essentially her office, it didn't just look good. She should have stayed away if she wasn't up to it. Nobody would have noticed she was missing.
Well, quite frankly, I only care for the victims of the budget which she is implementing. For example, across the country, there are people who cannot afford to turn their heating on, and as a result, their physical health and with it their mental health is being seriously affected. So I'm a Christian, I know it's Christmas Day, but quite frankly, I couldn't give two hoots about her. It's down to God whether he chooses to forgive her or not.
But not you. Okay, it's quite a robust conversation we're having here. While we're at it, I want to show you just a little bit of a clip of one of our other programs, and it's pretty hard hitting as well. Tim Scott Uncancelled. He's absolutely brilliant, and he shows you the stories that you may have missed, and they're good to watch again. Merry Christmas, Tim Scott. I know he's a man of faith as well, as are many people, actually. By the way, you don't have to be religious to watch Unprecedented TV, but I have always said to all of my presenters, they're freely allowed to express their religious convictions or absence of them. And I have no problem with people saying that they're Christians. And I have to say, I've got a feeling it's not de rigueur to do that on the mainstream media. As you said before, it's almost like you have to apologize for being a Christian these days.
Well, I certainly won't.
Well, I'll tell you why I say that. Because one of the other stories, which I didn't mean to mention, but I'll just mention it in passing, was the arrest of a woman, Christian, engaged in silent prayer outside an abortion clinic that wasn't even open. It seems to me that's the police enforcing the politics of thought crime. Well,
I have a joke. The British police. But I have to say, it's quite a nasty joke.
I'm not sure. Tell me after the show. It is ultimately Christmas Day, but I want to hear it when we come off air. Let's get to somebody who isn't a joke at all, a very serious person. Angela Rayner, who resigned from government as deputy leader over tax scandal. Now, this woman who left school with no qualifications, so arguably could be regarded as a role who went to school, then ended up apparently contradicting the very policies that she was responsible for. Awkward.
Well, I'm somewhat bewildered by this because here we have Angela Rayner, who owns numerous properties, privately owns numerous properties, and yet I was under the impression, Lembit, that socialism prohibits private ownership, and
Oh
yet
yeah,
you have all these people on the Labour front bench who purport to be socialists, who purport to possess socialist values, and yet they all own private property, and indeed plural private properties.
yeah. It's a strange thing. The whole thing about Angela Rayner, she's so bitter about the upper middle classes. She called the Tories scum, for example. That's not language that I want to hear from elected representatives. That means that she presumably thinks that all the people who voted Conservative in her constituency are also scum. Or maybe, Angela, if you want to clarify what you meant by that, do you just mean that they're voting for scum? I find her attitude totally disingenuous and, to be honest with you, graceless. Is there grace in what she's doing? I don't know. Maybe she's an atheist too, for all I know. But the way she did it, it was so contradictory. The hypocrisy of it, that was the problem. But the good news is she could be back. Rayner will make return to cabinet, says Starmer. Happy days. We're not going to lose her brilliant political talent after all, Marcus.
No, I'm absolutely thrilled to be, on the verge of entering 2026 with the knowledge that our beloved Angela Rayner could be back on the front bench. I mean, she has so much to offer to not just Britain, not just Bongland, but the rest of mankind. I'm just lost for words.
There isn't much,
as she is, but for different reasons. My vocabulary is larger than hers.
That's because you probably went to one of the schools that they tax now. Did you go to a private school?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I just, as a very young child, I developed a love of reading, which clearly she and many others in the House of Commons on both sides of the chamber clearly never had an interest in reading.
Yeah, I didn't expect this to be quite so much fun today. She's also tipped to be potentially the next Prime Minister. What do you make of that? I'm all for it. I think that would be fabulously entertaining. But what do you think?
Only in Bongland. I'm sure Putin is shaking in his boots at the thought of having to go face to face with Angela Rayner at the United Nations.
Oh, that'd be great. That really would be fantastic. I'll tell you something that Neil Hamilton said of her to me, but I'm not doing the show. I'm going to have to try and keep some standards. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if you heard that, and I checked this up after I'd spoken with Nick Buckley about it. Apparently, Rachel Reeves had lied about winning a chess tournament of some sort. Apparently, this is the actual winner there. This is the lady who, I don't know who she actually is, to be honest with you. But, here we are. Emily Howard, who was crowned under-14 girls champion in 1993, the same year the Chancellor claimed she was crowned British girls under-14 champion herself. You couldn't make it up.
Do you know how I see all of this?
I really want to play chess with. I really want to play chess with Rachel Reeves. Maybe she can prove me wrong. Maybe she is, in fact, a hidden genius.
It just. This is how I see it. We've gone from the British Empire to Bongland. I think that says it all.
But actually, they're taking longer than I expected. Let's try and get on to another story, and that's the whole question of migrants crossing the channel. The question here, which is posted in one of the papers, it was how many migrants have crossed the channel? Good question, because I don't think people really know. People who live on the south coast, they'll tell you freely that actually they see boats coming up unguarded, unnoticed, unregistered, unapprehended. So that's probably quite a good question. But towards the end of the year, you could have surely seen the story which said that no boats at all had come across for a month. But that was because of the weather. It wasn't anything to do with policy. It was 100% because they couldn't cross the channel because they would sink. This has been an absolute catastrophe for the Labour Party. They promised us they would fix this. They said they do better than the Tories, but they've actually presided over a record-breaking year of migrants crossing the channel.
Well, it's regardless of who's in power, be it the Labour Party or the Conservative Party, there is only one party, and that is the Uni Party. Let us not forget that these illegal criminal crossings began under the watch of the Conservative Party. But what I find very confusing, Lembit, is how the Royal Navy still puts out advertisements encouraging people to join the Royal Navy. Well, why? Where is the Royal Navy when it comes to guarding the English Channel? I can't see any reason, any rational reason as to why anyone would want to join the Royal Navy when the Royal Navy is not doing its job in the English Channel.
I know somebody who left the Coast Guard because they just refused to carry on being a taxi service for illegal migrants. It's interesting that Keir Starmer thinks that they can defend something like 1,400 miles of Ukrainian border, but they can't even defend 20 miles of English Channel.
Well, they can, but they don't want to. Of course, when a Russian vessel is in international waters in the English Channel, then the Royal Navy appears. But of course, when there are men in dinghies violating British maritime waters, then the Royal Navy is nowhere to be seen. And I was under the impression, Lembit, that defence of the realm is the #1 priority for any government in Britain.
Apparently not. And they are men of fighting age, we're always told. Men of fighting age. Total disaster there. Not the only one, though. Somebody else who hasn't had a great year is Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew kind of got himself in a bit of hot water, all that nonsense about him saying he hadn't done anything wrong. But story after story comes out. Possibly by the time people watch this in the archive, even more will come out from not Prince Andrew, just Andrew now. Epstein files appear to show Andrew asking Maxwell for inappropriate friends. Documents give further insight into former royals' ties to sex offender, raise fresh questions for Donald Trump. You know, they keep going on about Trump all the time. But Andrew hasn't had a great year, has he?
Very serious allegations have been made against Andrew. I don't use these titles of king or queen or prince because they're meaningless. There is only one king, and that is Jesus Christ. All other kings are fake. But very serious allegations have been made against Andrew, and yet the ever so independent British police have not once questioned him, not once, and yet he's residing in the United Kingdom. Serious allegations have been made against him, and yet he hasn't been questioned.
But why would the British police question him if he didn't commit these crimes in the United Kingdom? Or is it the claim that he committed crimes? Sorry, the alleged crimes. Let's be careful. Every 60 seconds when you watch this being covered on the mainstream media, they say, of course, being in the pictures is no indication of wrongdoing. So let's just say nothing has been proved. But why would the British police question him if the alleged offences didn't happen in this country?
Well, if I was accused of having committed very serious offences in a country in continental Europe, for example, you can bet your life that the British police would be in contact with me, and rightly so. I'm not saying they have the jurisdiction to arrest me, but I would hear from them in one way or another. But alas, that's not the case with Andrew. So again, that brings into question the whole British monarchy. You know, we're told that no one is above the law. Well, actually, the monarch is by law above the law. The British monarch, even if he commits a crime or if she commits a crime, cannot be arrested because they are above the law. But I put it to you that actually, you know, the entire British monarchy is not subject to the law. And the allegations, again, as you say, they are allegations against Andrew, but still there hasn't been a word from the police.
He's not the only person being in trouble with all this. Bill Clinton seems to be a pretty big player in the pictures. Of course, there's a certain amount of spin, perhaps, from Trump's people about what's broadcast, but once again, nothing's been proved. Bill Clinton didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but it just doesn't look good. These pictures. Once again, I've been subject to spurious and scurrilous rubbish in the media as well, and I'm not judging Clinton, in fairness, about this. But what is interesting is they're all such big chums with Epstein. Epstein had such contact, and I'm surprised, to be honest with you. And even from beyond the grave, after Epstein's most mysterious death in custody, this rumbles on. Do you think that we'll ever get to the bottom of what really happened, or do you think it's such a big deal that we'll never be allowed to know the truth?
I think, as I call them, the Western ruling elites will throw some red meat, so to speak, to the public in America and in Britain to say that the wheels of justice continue to go round, that no one is above the law, that everyone is subject to scrutiny and the due legal process. The Western ruling elites may even throw some of their own underneath the bus, in a manner of speaking. But ultimately, the full story will not be released, because to do so would incriminate the very, very heart of the dark, malignant forces which rule the Western world.
I want to finish with two other stories, both interesting. One for me, one for you. One is, we go back to the year 2000 when Dr. David Viner from the discredited and disgraced Climatic Research Unit in the University of East Anglia, a place which really looked like it was doing some terrible things to try to promote the climate emergency, what I believe to be a hoax. Well, he said in the year 2000, snow will be a very rare thing. Our children just won't know what snow is. That's almost a verbatim quote. I predict that we will see snow. I think it's going to snow. And what's great about this is, a quarter of a century after he said it, our children do know what snow is. It actually snowed towards the end of 2025 where I live. And if you're in Scotland, it snowed there. It actually snowed in Turkey in June. I have to say that this hoax is falling apart. This is my opinion. I believe that the climate emergency is a hoax and certainly isn't being driven by humans. Your view?
I concur entirely. I'm not as well versed with it as you are, but I do know that the whole climate change is $1 trillion scam. And secondly, I'm also aware that 20, 30 years ago, the powers that be were wheeling out their useful idiots to say that in 20 or 30 years' time, the world will be gone. Well, here we are. We're talking. It's Christmas Day. We're still here.
And finally, one for you. You mentioned Bongland. I don't know quite what they've got here, but if we can play it, I don't know quite what they've done, but they asked me to play this. Oh, here we are. That's what it is. Well done, team. Very good. I like it. This is for you. Bongland.
I know what that's about. That's chiming to say that Angela Rayner is now Prime Minister.
I can't hear you. What did you say? Sorry.
It's chiming to say that Angela Rayner is now Prime Minister. Something profound has happened in Bongland.
Congratulations to the team for rustling that up while we were on air. Thank you very much indeed. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you, Marcus Papadopoulos, Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos this year. And you've got your own show now. Tell us about that, the show on Unprecedented TV.
Indeed, I have. It is called In Good Faith, and it will approach critical contemporary issues from a Christian perspective. And we are all acutely aware that in Bongland and in other parts of the Western world, Christianity is under siege. Christianity is being attacked. And we need to ask the question, what is it about Christianity that makes the powers that be in the Western world so fearful? So I'm absolutely delighted to have been given this show on Unprecedented TV. And I say, watch this space in 2026.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you in 2025. And I'm looking forward to seeing what great insights you have. And I'm pleased to say that we've got an unabashedly Christian narrative on your show. And nobody has to watch it, but it's there if you've got an open mind and you want to see what's going on. Merry Christmas, Dr. Papadopoulos.
Merry Christmas again to you, Lembit, and to all of your viewers.
And with that, we finish our special review of the year. Hopefully, I haven't offended you, but if I have, that's my right. It's your right to offend me back. If you're at a bit of a loose end before or after your Christmas dinner, if you're having it, then do feel free to engage with me. I'll be looking at my X feed. And please, the best Christmas gift you can give all of us here on Unprecedented TV is a like and a subscribe. Merry Christmas to you, wherever you are in the world. 2026 is going to be a great year, and we're going to have shows before the end of this year as well, if you're watching this live. I'm Lembit Öpik. This is Lembit Öpik Live on a very festive day, a very important day for Christians like me. Whatever you're doing today, I hope you're having a thoughtful day, and you remember the importance of soul, because without soul, we're nothing. Merry Christmas.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.